Give them a shot to do what?
All right. Super fun show today. Bird is out again. So today I got with me Kevin Durant's cousin of many things, the Deacon, Dwayne Marcus. What's up, man?
Jeez. What's up, brother? How are you?
Good. Good to have you on here. We're gonna go over the good, bad, fugly this past week in sports. We're gonna completely overreact to the NFL preseason week 1. And then I finally unveil my final after a tumultuous offseason full of hot debate and discourse among Eagles fans. Where does Jalen Hurts land on my final QB tiers? Dwayne Marcus reacts in real time. All that and more next. Sports. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Stuff About Sports, presented by the Give Us a Shot Network, powered by Fast Break Coffee, and sponsored, as always, Dwayne Marcus, by the haters. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to the first timers, last timers, YouTube viewership, podcast listenership, social media ship. Please like, share, subscribe. Join us in the comment section. If you don't do any of one of those things, you're a hater. And I mean, that's all there is to it. So please follow my guy, Dwayne Marcus. Again, Marcus Talks Sports at marcus.talks.sports on the Instagram. Just search Marcus Talks Sports on your Googlables, and I'm sure you'll find him. He does a lot of good work, WNBA, NBA stuff, sports, wrestling, everything. You know, he's very smart. One of the most intelligent people I know. So shout out to him. What's up, man? How you feeling?
Jeez, appreciate you, brother. How you doing?
I'm good. Just trying to maintain, trying to make it happen. There's a lot of things going on. NFL officially back, so a lot of our NFL coverage. We don't have the bullshit shows throughout the summer anymore. Like we actually get to talk about the stuff that we really like talking about. I mean, there's only so much. Can Joel Embiid finally stay healthy this year? Talk I can do throughout the offseason. So I'm finally glad that the NFL is back and in full swing. So let's get right into it. Let's start with the good, bad, and fugly. I know that the rundown says preseason week 1, but we audibled here, and we're going to open it up to sports. But there might be some NFL preseason stuff. I'll let you go first, bro.
The good from this week has to be Shedeur Sanders. To be passed on in the third round, to be passed on in 4 rounds in the NFL draft in April, finally drafted by the Cleveland Browns, listed 4th on the depth chart, got no first team reps before their first preseason game to go out there and what did he do? Just over $180 and 2 touchdowns. Regardless of the fact that it was a preseason game, regardless of the fact that it was against the Panthers or whatever, like when you have gone through what he's had to go through from the time he declared for the draft to now, you have to show love there. And I think it's only a matter of time before it's, official that he is the starter. I think he should have been the starter. And I think there are teams like the New Orleans Saints who have Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shaw under center. Teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers who have Mason Rudolph and Aaron Rodgers under center. Teams who looked at Shedeur Sanders and passed on him simply because of who his father is are going to regret that. And this was just the first step of that. So much love, as always, to Shedeur Sanders. He is my good for the week.
Yeah, I had him as my good, but I'm going to save him for a little bit later. Shout out to David Burns watching from Cedar Hill, Texas. Shout out to you, dog. Emmanuel Johnson. I heard someone say it perfectly. Shedeur is the type of QB that elevates the guys around him, and Dylan is the type of guy that relies on the guys around him, and that's the difference.
Okay, let's not disrespect Dylan Gabriel here. Okay, I won't let any Dylan Gabriel as a proud the Oregon Ducks. I will not let any Dylan Gabriel slander slide here. I just want to put that out there.
Yes, but that's not entirely inaccurate. That's a pretty good assessment.
No, it's not.
Dylan, it is. Shedeur Sanders has shown from Jackson State to Colorado to elevate everything. He says one and this is the funny part, because now I'm going to use the Jalen Hurts argument. We'll get into Jalen Hurts a little bit later, but if you value winning, then yes, Shedeur Sanders does elevate the guys around him. People will throw Travis Hunter in our face. That's one player. Like, give me somebody else super duper prominent that is on that level that we're talking about outside. And Shiloh doesn't even fit that mold. We just talk about Shiloh because we like him, because he's a cool dude and we want him to be successful. And Shiloh looks pretty damn good. Now, if we're going to bring him up, you know what I mean? Shiloh, I liked everything I saw from him. He's going to fit in nice in Tampa Bay. But Oregon had a squad. Yeah. Like,
Oregon did have a squad. That's fine. But Dillon Gabriel, his second season in college, the COVID year 2020, led UCF, I believe, was in the Big 12 at that time. He led the conference in yards and passing touchdowns. In 2023, when he was at Oklahoma, he led the conference in yards, completion percentage, and passing touchdowns. Also yards per game. He also, last season, en route to being the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, he led the Big Ten in completions, attempts, and yards per game, and his 155 passing touchdowns in his career, most all time in the FBS. So I'm not saying that Oregon didn't have a stacked squad. There's a reason why we were the last team to be undefeated in the country last season. And although our year didn't end well with us getting slapped around by Ohio State in the Rose Bowl, I think reducing Dillon Gabriel to just being a guy who is elevated by those around him isn't an accurate assessment of who he is when you look at the fact that, like, statistically, not just even what he does on the field with the eye test, but statistically since 2019, from 2019 to 2024, that his entire collegiate career, he put together one of the best collegiate careers that we've seen from a quarterback position, minus obviously championships, because of course he didn't play in one, but lots of wins, lots of stats, leading conferences, winning awards. That's more than just a guy who's being elevated because of those around him. And I misspoke. UCF was in Conference USA or the American Conference at the time. Not Big 12. That's on me.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Dillon Gabriel too, because this isn't entirely his fault, right? It's just the circumstance. Yeah. Like, he honestly, like, it's the Browns' fault for drafting Shedeur after him. It's going to be extremely unfair to Dillon. He's going to get it. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter how good he is. I mean, to be honest with you, because he's not just.
I don't think he's better than Shedeur Sanders. I'm not saying that he is.
But even if he was, he's not a bigger star than Shedeur. So it doesn't. And so then it still doesn't matter. That's why it's extremely unfair to him. And so obviously we want to give him the respect he deserves. But at the end of the day, this is just kind of where you're at. David says, it's so happy to see the Chicago Bears, Tyson Bagent, and Case Keenum come out and do what they do in the first preseason game. But I do have to see improvement a little bit from Bagent, because he did get sacked about 3 times that preseason game against the Dolphins. I mean, I guess I'm not going to put sacks completely on the quarterback. Like, obviously there needs to be a line that blocks for him. That obviously was a problem. That's the excuse everybody's giving Caleb Williams, who doesn't look good, who hasn't played in the preseason game. People like Tyson Bagent last year. Case Keenum is a veteran, played exactly how a veteran should. He was like 8 for 10. He was extremely efficient. He had a crazy quarterback rating, but Case Keenum is Case Keenum. So they're going to have to, this is the year. Like, if you believe Ben Johnson is the coach, then this is the year for Caleb Williams. Like, you got to figure it out, bud. And as I said on the last show, he just hasn't shown me. I can deal with being on a bad team and not performing well in a season, but you have to show me at least something. And Caleb really hasn't shown me anything. My good is going to basically Big Apple quarterbacks. All the quarterbacks in New York. If you're a New York fan, and I'm doing this primarily, shout out to Bert, who was extremely nervous about Jaxon Dart, who was extremely nervous about Russell Wilson, and super nervous about Jameis Winston. And then, of course, the Jets, who, we have Carl, part of, figurehead of the network, who's a big Jets fan. You have to feel pretty good about what you've seen from Justin Fields and Russell Wilson a little bit, and specifically Jaxon Dart. And I'm going to save a lot of that for later. But if my good is going to go to New York quarterbacks as a whole, I really couldn't pick one. You get the win against good teams. I get it's preseason, so you don't want to look too far into it. But, the Jets winning over Green Bay and the Giants winning over Buffalo has to at least feel good. It's like a nice confidence booster, because at least in the opening drive where your first team offense is actually playing, you led to scoring drives against first team defenses. Yes, one series. But if you are a team that's been in the bottom of the barrel, that has been completely in the depths of nothing, it at least has to give you something good to know that, hey, maybe we're heading in the right direction. Again, Russell Wilson did what he was supposed to do. That's what you're going to see. A lot of check downs, a lot of safe passes, a lot of slants, a lot of, throwing to the running back. And then obviously Jaxon Dart, which I'll get into in a little bit, but that's my good for the week is New York quarterbacks. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot Justin Fields because I'm not going to talk about him again. Yeah. Like if you're a guy who believed in Justin Fields' talent, like with the backfield that they have assembled with Breece Hall and the other guy's escaping me. Who's the other quarter? Braylon Allen. Yeah. Like running up to 60, 70 yards up the field. And then that 13-yard score by Justin Fields. I mean, and then again, you see the progression in his game, taking those checkdowns, not trying to make big plays or trying to make superstar plays, taking what the defense gives you and using his attributes as a strength, which is obviously something that Aaron Glenn was brought in to help kind of establish, basically that's how he kept Jared Goff into being a Super Bowl contending quarterback, obviously on the defense, but he at least has part of that. He knows what to do. He knows how to that defense that Aaron Glenn had in Detroit last year had like the record. They had like 14 people on IR by the time they got to the playoffs, and they were still able to at least compete. So Aaron Glenn is very good at putting people in the best positions to win. So my good, all New York quarterbacks out there. Bad.
There is a section of Eagles fans out here who are so obsessed with a good performance from Tanner McKee in a preseason game that now all of a sudden we're going down the lists of NFL teams that Tanner McKee can start on. And listen, he can start in New Orleans, probably, right? He would probably start in Cleveland. He shouldn't, but he probably could, right? There's a couple other teams he could probably start on, right? But it's a preseason game. Like this is the same fan base that is obsessed with the fact. This is the same fan base that doesn't like when people say that the Eagles are a super team, yet spent the entire offseason. No one was giving Eagles players the credit that they deserve, whether it's A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts, the offensive line, the defense, and the various groups there, Dallas Goedert, like whatever. Like, why are we so obsessed with Tanner? And look, shout out to Tanner, but really, we're running down the list of teams in the NFL that Tanner McKee can start on after one preseason game. And oh, by the way, I do want to say this. I know it's going to come up later. I have always been in the mindset that Jalen Hurts is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I think he's the third best quarterback in the NFL. I'm on record as saying that. And there's nothing that anyone can say to talk me off of that, right? But here's what I will say. There is a selection of Eagles fans who, when it comes to the tush push, they always say that other teams want the tush push gone because no one can do it as well as Jalen Hurts can. If memory serves me correctly, the touchdown that Tanner McKee scored in that preseason game was a tush push touchdown. So let's stop with the whole Jalen Hurts is great because of the tush push. Again, I think Jalen Hurts is great. I don't think he's great because of the tush push. I think if you put a majority, not even a majority, to use Eagles fans' logic, if a backup quarterback can do it, you can take any starting caliber quarterback, put him behind the Eagles offensive line for the tush push, and they would score in the Philly. And that includes the big brolic quarterbacks that do it on their teams and can't get it done. So enough. I don't want to hear anyone talking to me about how the tush push is a feather in the cap of Jalen Hurts, because it's not. Because that was the case, Tanner McKee wouldn't have scored a touchdown in the preseason using the tush push. But seriously, can we stop it with the Tanner McKee can start on? I've seen some people say 11 teams. I've seen some people say 12. I've seen some people say at least 8. It's a preseason game, bro. Here's the thing. If Tanner McKee could start on all these NFL teams, then someone would have picked up the phone and said, hey, we'll give you a 4th or 5th rounder or whatever it takes for us to get Tanner McKee so that he can be our starter. Yeah. Relax. It's okay. You think your team is great. You think your team's going to win the Super Bowl again. You think your team's awesome. Love that for you. But enough with the Tanner McKee propaganda. Literally enough with the seriously. I'm getting sick of it. I'm almost as sick of that as I am of the Bills propaganda that I've been seeing on the season as well. Like it's
Hard Knocks, baby.
To that point.
I mean, how can you not watch Hard Knocks and just be like, you know what, Buffalo?
It's great. No,
Hard Knocks. Great. Yeah,
I can't deny the Hard Knocks is good. Hard Knocks is good.
Yeah, they're good. Shout out to Hard Knocks production, man. They make believers out of everybody. I don't care who it is. They could have been this. What was that fake ass football? Bishop Sycamore. If Hard Knocks did Bishop Sycamore, I'm like, yo, I hope they win it all. Like, I don't know what's going on over there. My bad is keeping it in the NFC East. Jerry Jones just simply being his own worst enemy. Why are you admitting that the Cowboys are a soap opera? Like the entire Dallas Cowboys situation to me. It's like I didn't think it could get worse. It's just funny. It's just comical. It's just sad. You have Micah Parsons, probably the best player on your team, wants a contract. Dwayne Marcus, you've been with us for a couple years. You know me. You pay 4 positions. Micah Parsons plays one of those positions that you pay. Elite pass rushing. You pay shutdown corners, you pay quarterbacks, you pay offensive linemen, and you pay pass rushers. Those are the guys that you go out of your way. You don't pay wide receivers. You don't pay running backs. It's just they largely don't translate to actual winning. Like you would have to go back to, like, I believe, Torrey Holt, when the receiver or a skill player was the highest paid player on a Super Bowl winning team. And that greatest show on turf Rams team is an anomaly. So, but then you have Jerry Jones. And then, of course, you have the CeeDee Lamb thing that doesn't make it any better. Like, it's just at every turn, there's just something happening with the Cowboys, and it's just as Jerry Jones wants it. You even had Denzel on First Take talking shit, talking about all money ain't good money, Jerry, and there's box office Oscars, dropping bars on First Take on Jerry Jones. And, Denzel, huge Cowboys fan. There's levels to this. And yeah, Dak and CD and whatever else you're doing, their box office, I guess. The Cowboys, I'm not going to. Jerry's, in terms of business, Jerry knows what he's doing. The Cowboys are still by far the most valuable team in all of sports. I believe for the 9th straight year, I think they've hit like 10 billion. Like that's the most in any sport. So, Jerry, in terms of running the business, knows what he's doing. But that doesn't mean he knows how to run a team. And like you can make all the money off the team you want. But when's the last time you guys have been, in Denzel's words, the Oscars, which is the Super Bowl? Jerry loves clout more than wins at this point. And honestly, just sell the team then, because you're obviously not trying to win. It's for a team that has the star, no pun intended, the star power, the brand recognition as the Cowboys. They are supposed to be run like a team that is supposed to be perennial. They are supposed to be the Dodgers of football. They're not. And it's sad. It's sad to watch Jerry Jones now, towards the end of his life, seemingly completely just want as much revenue from the name the Dallas Cowboys as he possibly can before he can't run the team anymore. It's just sad. My bad is just the season hasn't even started yet for real, and the Cowboys are already cowboying. And God forbid Dak Prescott gets another injury that messes up the season, but the Cowboys are already off to a bad start.
Yeah, I would just say this: when you have a guy in Micah Parsons, who has, I believe, we're talking 40 career sacks at this point. We're talking about a guy in Mike Parsons who's been a Pro Bowler every year. He's finished top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year twice in his career. He's at worst the 3rd best player on this team, depending on how you feel about CeeDee Lamb, but he's certainly the 2nd or 1st, like in that conversation, right? He's not even just one of the most important players on this team. He's one of the most important players in the NFL. The Dallas Cowboys have consistently had one of the better defenses in the NFL since Micah Parsons has been there, because of Micah Parsons and because of his versatility and because of what he's able to do on that side of the field. There's a reason why earlier on in his career, people were comparing him to Lawrence Taylor. There's a reason why earlier on in his career, people were comparing him to Aaron Donald. So not only just for Jerry Jones to say to Cowboys fans, look, don't lose any sleep over this, right? But also for Stephen Jones before that, to say that Micah Parsons needs to play like he has earned a contract. When you have the resume that Micah Parsons has, what much more does he need to do to show that he's earned the right to be paid, the right to be extended? We've seen this movie before, man. We've seen it. We've seen it with Dez. We've seen it with DeMarco Murray. We've seen it with Dak twice now. Like, at some point, Jerry Jones has to learn his lesson. And I think I don't agree with Stephen A. Smith often, but I do think he made a good point this morning on Fourth Take. He said it seems like it becomes more and more apparent and abundantly clear that Jerry Jones's goal is just for the Cowboys to be talked about, just to be in the news cycle, whatever that means, like to be valuable, because he is a businessman. They're worth over $10 billion. They're one of, if not the most valuable sports franchise on the face of the planet. They're one of the most valuable brands on the face of the planet, sports or otherwise. That's what Jerry Jones wants. But at the same time, that's not what Jerry Jones is saying out of his mouth, right? Yeah. Jerry Jones goes on local Dallas news every week and talks about how he wants to win a championship, but his actions aren't reflecting of that. This is the only team in the NFL where their owner is doing consistent press availability every single week, 52 weeks of the year. And you see what you get because of that. I don't believe that the Cowboys can't win a Super Bowl. I've never felt that way. I think that Dak Prescott's a really good quarterback. I think this roster is really good on paper. But when you're making little small decisions like choosing to delay paying Micah Parsons, choosing to pay Ezekiel Elliott before you pay Dak Prescott, choosing to pay the offensive line before you play Dak Prescott twice, right? Choosing to risk Dak Prescott walking out the door after he busted up his ankle because you want to see him prove it. He goes out there and he proves it, and we're still having conversations about whether or not he needs to be paid before he ends up getting paid. You look around the Dallas Cowboys, you see what Howie Roseman is doing in Philly. You see even what Josh Harris is doing in Washington, right? You see what all these other teams are doing, and you look at it, and sometimes you do have to ask yourself, is Jerry Jones serious about getting the Dallas Cowboys another championship? I know he wants to do it Jerry's way, but the last time the Dallas Cowboys won a Super Bowl, it wasn't done Jerry's way. And there's not a lot of time in Jerry's life left. Like, he certainly has fewer days ahead of him than he does behind him. And I have the one thing I've been consistent with, one of the few things I've been consistent with over the last 5 years and 10 days of me doing this is until Jerry Jones gets out of his own way, the Dallas Cowboys will probably never win a Super Bowl, regardless of how talented the team is, because at the end of the day, it's always going to have to be about him. That's why Jason Garrett was employed for as long as he was. That's why Brian Schottenheimer, of all people, is the head coach. No disrespect to Brian Schottenheimer. He was not the best option available out there to be the head coach of this football team coming into the season. So this isn't surprising at all because Jerry Jones has done this over and over and over again. But I will say this, we all know what the definition of insanity is, right? It's doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. Not only that, as the old saying goes, when someone shows you who they are, you should believe them. This is who Jerry Jones is. It's who he's always been, and it's who he will continue to be until the good Lord calls him off of this earth. So we'll see where that all goes, but I am not surprised that this is happening with Micah Parsons. I do think it'll get resolved because I do think that Jerry Jones recognizes that if they are going to win a championship, they can't do it without Micah Parsons. I do think he will realize that. It's just unfortunate, though, that it takes Micah Parsons needing to request a trade, as it has for so many other players in the past, for him to get his just due. That's the problem. But then again, we're dealing here with Jerry Jones, and so you can't be too surprised.
Do you have an ugly for this week? Or Fugly?
I do. In the world of college football, I just, I'm an Oregon fan. Right. And so I don't want to seem like I'm coming off as being biased or anything like that. And if you want to take this, you can. But I'm sitting here and I'm just looking at the AP poll, the preseason poll that was released the other day. And Texas is number one, which I don't love. I don't love. But if you want to buy into the Archie Manning hype, I can't get mad at you. But I don't love that. Penn State, the Penn State Nittany Lions are number two. The same Penn State Nittany Lions who got their teeth kicked in by the Oregon Ducks in the Big Ten championship game and then got promptly manhandled by Notre Dame before the national championship are the number two ranked team in the country. You mean to tell me that the Penn State Nittany Lions are better than the national champion Ohio State Buckeyes? You mean to tell me Penn State is better than the national champion and runner-up Notre Dame Fighting Irish, who looks like they're just the NFL's junior academy with all these NFL legends' sons who are playing for their team? You mean to tell me Penn State's better than Oregon when the last time they were on the field together, they couldn't hold a candle to what Oregon was doing. And I understand, right? We lost Dylan Gabriel. We lost a couple other key pieces, but Oregon has had a really good offseason. Our offensive line is still one of the best in the country. Our defense is still going to be one of the best in the country. DeCorian Moore, the number one prospect in this year's recruiting class, is our newest wide receiver. I get it. We don't have Evan Stewart, but he's still going to show up and show out. Oh, and by the way, we have a guy by the name of Mekhi Hughes who transferred over from Tulane. He's going to be a really good running back. You can't tell me Penn State's better than Oregon. You can't tell me Penn State's better than Georgia. You just can't. You can't do it. You can't tell me you couldn't even convince me that Penn State was better than Alabama. Why? Because every time Penn State plays in a big game, they lose. James Franklin is allergic to big games. He doesn't do well in them. And here we are a couple weeks before the season starts, and you're telling me that the Penn State Nittany Lions are the second best team in the country. They're the second best team in the country. I can't even be upset about Texas being number one because you have Penn State number two. Yeah. I can't even get upset about the fact or talk about the fact that for the first time since 1978, my dad was 7. For the first time since 1978, the number one team in the AP preseason poll is going to go into week 1 as an underdog. You know who Texas is playing in week 1? The team who should be number 1. The Ohio State Buckeyes, the national champions. Like, I don't understand how college football continues to mess up these very, very simple things. Any preseason poll that doesn't have Ohio State number 1, Notre Dame number 2, and Oregon in the top 5 above Penn State is absurd to me. And it is just, it's so hard for me to fathom that I have to sit here and watch Penn State fans beat their chest about them being ranked number 2. Their quarterback's not even all that good. He might be the most overrated quarterback in the country. Penn State being number 2, when I saw the preseason poll earlier this week, I sent it to my friend who is an Ohio State fan, and we couldn't help but just shake our heads and laugh because there's no legit justification for that. And what makes it even worse is not only are they ranked number 2, they got 2 less first place votes than Texas. Which means we could live in a world where Penn State's the number 1 ranked team in the country. And there's nothing about Penn State's resume last season or nothing about what they're producing, potentially bringing onto the field next season that justifies them being ranked in the second, let alone the top 2, let alone the top 3. They're second, bro. I can't fathom. I can't fathom that. It's nuts to me. It's insane.
That button way too soon. I wanted to say first off, Dwayne Marcus classic. My God. Second of all, the reason why they did it that way is for that reaction right there. That's what
I don't care.
They're gonna change these rankings. Like and you know me, I'm not a big power ranking guy. They're gonna change them every week, and
I know.
There's really what's the biggest storyline going into college? It's probably Arch Manning. Is Arch Manning as good as advertised? Yeah. Until like the games are starting to be played and we see who these teams really are. That's really the only thing to talk about. And we've already talked about that. Like at that, I think people have already reserved the fact that Arch Manning is next, or however you want to phrase it, or whatever the headlines are going to be. So to attention, and they're going to do this election Sunday. They're going to have the ESPN release these rankings every week. And then there'll be the 4 teams that they really want. Like 7th place all season, and then they'll win like the last week and they'll jump to number 2. You know how it goes. Like
I know how it goes, and shame on me for falling into the trap. That's what I'm saying. Like, Texas being number 1, I can't get too mad at it because I know that's the Arch Manning effect. Yeah, right. Also, when you look at how like terrible Quinn Ewers looked in their last game of the season, you have to expect them to be better. Like I got that. I don't like it, but I understand. Texas has a stronger claim to being number 1 than Penn State has to be number 2. Again, especially when you look at who they have ranked over Penn State. I would even make the argument that Clemson deserves to be ranked over Penn State. I don't think it's a strong one, but I think the argument could be made. I mean, I'm just looking at it, and for those of you guys that don't know, the full top 10 is Texas, Penn State, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, Notre Dame, Oregon, Alabama, LSU, and Miami. So for the 2 teams that played in the national championship in Ohio State and Notre Dame, the last undefeated team in the country last season in Oregon, and 2 perennial, I'll even say 3 perennial championship contenders in Clemson, Georgia, and Alabama to all be ranked below Penn State. considering the product that Penn State put on the field last season in 2 very important games. I just don't see how you can justify that. So that's my fugly, because that just does. I can't find. I've been looking really hard. I can't find a justifiable reason for Penn State to be the number 2 ranked team in the country. I really can't.
My fugly this week is the New York Mets fucking suck. What's up with y'all? Like, the New York Mets, a team so dedicated to getting people's hopes up. Yeah, turn the hat. I feel you. I dig it. That's why I'm wearing my Philly hat too, because I wanted to wear my Mets hat. Now we're winning right now, but I couldn't even get excited about that because we blew a 5-run lead the other day to the Milwaukee Brewers. But this team will always do this. We'll have a nice season after the All-Star break. We'll lose every game for a month. And we'll go from first place to fighting for a wild card spot. This isn't a slump. A slump is losing a series or 2. This is a performance piece on just straight up ineptitude. Like, everything is just a beautiful choreographed ballet of bullshit. The bullpen's melting down. The bats are going colder. The bats are colder than polar bear pussy. Speaking of polar bear, shout out to Pete Alonso, breaking the Mets record. He's going to get my game ball. I'm just letting y'all know that right now. But bless their hearts, all the players. They're trying. It's just not when you try and you're in a slump and it's not working and you're continuing to lose, naturally your motivation is going to go down. It's hard to get that. But Carlos Mendoza saying, "Yeah, man, lack of effort. We're trying hard." Like, nobody wants to hear that. Why are we losing? Why is the highest payroll team in baseball losing like this? And it's not that we're losing, it's consistently, it's the way we're losing. It's like, what are you paying all this money for? So I need the Mets to get it together. That's my fugly. It's just them. I think we've lost 9 of our last 10 games. Now I'm looking at the score. We're up 5-10 right now to the Atlanta Braves, our arch nemesis. We're at home. It's top of the 7th. It's looking good. But again, it's the Mets, so I can never, until that shit says final, I'm never going to get too excited. But Pete Alonso did break the Mets, Darryl Strawberry's all-time home runs record. He's at 253, 2-run shot, which is, I think, our first 2-run shot in like 3 months. Like, all our homers have been singles or solo homers. But Pete Alonso did it at home. So shout out to him. More on him later. But that's my fugly. Shout out to the Mets. But God damn it.
This is why I'm a casual baseball fan. I show up for the cut waters and the vibes.
God, man, good for you. And I need to get on that because they're bad for my blood. I had my yearly physical today. My blood pressure's high. They're like, "Oh, why is your blood pressure? You're like super healthy. Your vision's better than perfect. Your hearing's excellent. Why is your blood pressure so high?" I said, "I'm a fucking Mets fan. That's why." I don't know what to tell you. I was just fucking Mets. Killing me. All right. NFL preseason week 1. I'm going to go to my first overreaction off the bat. Jaxon Dart is the Giants franchise quarterback. Straight up, that guy, he looks like how everybody thinks Justin Herbert is. Does that make sense? He looks just like poise in the pocket, making good passes, driving up the field. Jaxon Dart. I mean, he has number 6. He has a cool marketable last name for a quarterback. Dart, throwing darts. I can't wait until, like, here's the overreaction. What I wrote down was Jaxon Dart is white Jaden Daniels is the overreaction I had. He will be so good. He will single-handedly elevate. Given the opportunity, they're going to give it to Russ. I think I think he was just handed that starting job. God forbid Russ struggles and they just give it to Jaxon Dart. Jaxon Dart will have a Jaden Daniels-like run with the Giants. Maybe not the level of success, but his play will remind people of what Jaden Daniels was able to accomplish. So that's my first overreaction. I have 3.
Oh boy. This very well could have been my fugly, but it was also gonna be it's my overreaction, so I didn't want to double dip. I think we're gonna have a new member of the 2,000 yards club this season, and it's gonna be Josh Jacobs.
What? Hold on. Where's my sounders?
I watched the Green Bay Packers. I watched Jordan Love go 1 for 7 in that game. against the Jets. The only catch was Matthew Golden. Jaden Reed dropped balls. Romeo Dobbs drop balls, Savion Williams drop, everybody other than Matthew Golden drop balls. And here's the thing, right? As a Packers fan, you sit down and you're like, this is 2 years ago. This is the youngest team in half a century to win a playoff game, go to the playoffs, and then win. Right. In the following weekend in San Francisco, we are a bad Jordan Love decision away at the end of that game from playing in the NFC Championship game, which is the story of the Green Bay Packers. Right. We turn around last season. We improve. We win 11 games. But who saw Sam Darnold coming last season? Nobody, especially not to the tune of 14, 15 wins, right? And so we go third. We play the Eagles, and we held the Eagles to their lowest scoring output in the postseason last year. So, like, I know there's no more victories in sports. It's either you win or you lose, but I think that's a lot of promise for what was still one of the youngest teams in the NFL, right? Or a couple weeks ago, probably a month ago now at this point, I got on the internet and I said that I think that Matt LaFleur is very underrated as a head coach. And I do really believe that because what he's been able to do in his career, not just with Aaron Rodgers, the 4 years he had with Aaron Rodgers, but in the year, and now the 2 years since, you have to respect it. But entering year 3, right, when you see what we were able to do that first season, make the playoffs, and then what we were able to do last season, which is improve and make the playoffs. I'm not saying the expectation is Super Bowl because this team is still young. That's not the case. But the offense has to be better because at the end of the day, the offense is a byproduct of who Matt LaFleur is as a head coach. He is an offensive guy. I'm not saying that the drops are on Matt LaFleur, but what I am saying is the one thing that Packers fans have been able to hold on to, right, is while, teams like the Commanders are dealing with wide receiver paying issues with Terry McLaurin, right, while you've got other teams who are trying to figure out what to do with their wide receivers, we have talented receivers who either can't stay healthy or are inconsistent. We have to we have to maximize on this. All of these guys are still on rookie deals for another year or two, I believe, right? And then it's going to have to be time to make decisions about who to pay and who to let go. We cannot, in the current state of the NFC, we can't be just throwing games away. And again, it's a preseason game, so I don't want to get too crazy. But the reason why I said that Josh Jacobs might rush for 2,000 is because I have no faith in any wide receiver not named Matthew Golden. And when you couple that with the fact that Christian Watson is still hurt and they're starting the season on PUP, when you couple that with the fact that Jaden Reed's out here in a walking boot, when you couple that with the fact that despite Jaden Reed being in a walking boot, he was able to do more push-ups and look better doing so than Malik Heath in practice earlier today. Malik Heath looked like I looked doing push-ups when I was in middle school. I was just no upper body strength whatsoever, right? When you couple that with the fact that in all seriousness, Matthew Golden might be our number one wide receiver, bro. And no disrespect to Matthew Golden, but come playoff time, that's not spooking anybody. So I'm just going to throw my second overreaction in there. I don't know how it needs to happen. I don't know if it can happen. It probably won't happen, and it probably can happen. But I need Brian Gutekunst to pick up the phone, and I need a call to be made to Josh Harris. And I need to figure out, I need a conversation to be had about what needs to be given up in order for Terry McLaurin to trade in the burgundy and gold for the green and yellow. That's what I need to figure out. Because I get it. Terry McLaurin doesn't want to leave Washington, right? I get it. Terry McLaurin is not like this otherworldly receiver that Commanders fans will have you believe that he is. But Terry McLaurin is a true wide receiver one. Terry McLaurin is a receiver that Jordan Love can trust. And Terry McLaurin is a receiver that in the postseason, defenses would have to respect. And his presence would allow guys like Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, even Romeo Dobbs to figure out what they're doing with their lives as the rest of the depth chart kind of fills out behind him. So I'm doubling up. Josh Jacobs might go for 2,000 because he has to, because clearly the passing game is not working. And Brian Gutekunst needs to get on the phone and call Josh Harris and figure out what, if possible, we need to do to go get Terry McLaurin. If that means we need to send a Romeo Dobbs and a Christian Watson and a couple picks over there to Washington, so be it. If that, I don't care what it takes, but I think that conversation needs to be had because this wide receiving core, as young as it is and as much potential as I think it has, I think this receiving core is starting to fall behind on the trajectory of the team because the defense looks good now with Jeff Hafley. We have Nate Hobbs, Xavier McKinney, I think, to be the best safety in the league this year. We have talent on defense. And I think Jordan Love is going to make more improvements. The offensive line is better. We went from everywhere being an issue to now it seems like we're right back to where we were when Aaron Rodgers left, which is the receiving core. is an issue. And that can't be an issue in year 3 of Jordan Love being the starter, not when the expectation is to improve on where we were last season, which is making it back to the divisional round. We're not making it back to the divisional round if our receivers are dropping passes left and right. So I don't know, but Josh Jacobs might go for 2K, and we might need to get on the phone and see if we can get Terry McLaurin. That's the only way I'll feel comfortable going into week 1. That's the only way I'm going to feel comfortable. I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Just because I want to get to the tiers, I'll do mine quick. My first one is Anthony Richardson's a bust. That's it.
That's not an overreaction. That's fact.
That's
a fact of life.
That's brother. A fact. He's a bust. It's over. Like enough. Like enough of that. I'm done with him. I don't care about talent. I don't care about potential. I don't care about whatever. He's a bust. All right. Shedeur Sanders is going to be bigger than Tim Tebow in terms of how people perceive his star. He will out Tebow because whatever his deficiencies are as a talent, there is no denying he's a star. He will be the greatest NFL draft story ever told. His entire story, from Jackson State to Colorado to slipping, whatever you want to call it, falling, slipping, getting pushed, blackballed, sent a message to the 5th round. He had the highest rated preseason game. He had 2 million viewers on the NFL Network. He had the #1 program on broadcast and cable television. Bank of America's stadium's capacity is 75,525. There were 71,205 in attendance. That's a preseason game. Ratings draw. He has the #1 jersey sales, 5th round pick. Everybody, he's a star, and everybody who knows it, except the Cleveland Browns, who still, for some inexplicable reason, have him listed as QB4 still. Like enough. Trade him. Get rid of the trade him. Then, if you don't believe in him, make him the starter day 1. Shout out to Joe Flacco. I got you. I feel you. Joe Flacco's a great veteran. I would want him on my team. Start Shedeur Sanders. The overreaction is Shedeur Sanders is the greatest draft pick in the last 10 years. The greatest. And it has less to do, and I'm saying that not just on the field. I don't think he's going to do anything crazy on the field in terms of leading his team like Jaden Daniels did. I don't think he's going to do that. And he may, because I think he can, but a mixture of that, what he can do on the field, deadly accurate, making good decisions, good in the pocket, can move a little bit. He's a good quarterback. But what he does, what he is off the field, his star power off the field, like it rivals Caitlin Clark kind of, where the hype and the attention and the just everything that comes with that star doesn't necessarily match the on the field skills, but together, at least the skills are there enough to justify it, right? Like Tim Tebow didn't have the skills professionally. I mean, I don't know. You could probably argue it. He won a playoff game, so I don't know. But maybe just like his star was too much. There was too much a disparity between his attention and his skills. If Tim Tebow was a little bit better, who knows what would have happened? But Shedeur, I think, is going to eclipse that because I think he was better than Tim Tebow was coming, or being ready for the NFL. So yeah, my overreaction is Shedeur Sanders is going to be the greatest NFL draft story ever told.
I would agree with you if there weren't a guy who was picked 199th and turned out to be the GOAT. I would agree with you.
Who the hell is it? Brock Purdy? No, Tom Brady. Tom
Brady's the greatest NFL draft story ever told, bro. You don't get
Tom Brady
199 and end up being the GOAT.
He's the GOAT player. I'm talking about in terms of draft story. You said 199. Yeah, fucking 263 is the last draft pick. Missed it. I got last in my head. I don't know. I was like,
also the greatest draft pick in the last 10 years is Pat Mahomes. Also,
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
I get it.
But he wasn't
overreaction Tuesday. I got you. But I would just.
To be fair, Patrick Mahomes wasn't like he wasn't like a 5th round pick either. Like he was still considered a top.
No, sure.
Maybe not coming out the best quarterback. Obviously, I don't think anybody thought Patrick Mahomes was going to be this, but at least he wasn't looked at like, oh, we got Patrick Mahomes. Like people were excited in Kansas City when they drafted Patrick Mahomes.
I know you don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
The only person I think justifiably that if you said who would you take over the last 10 years over Patrick Mahomes if all the prospects are available,
Mm-hmm.
it would be Andrew Luck. And it's only because Andrew Luck's the greatest quarterback prospect at that point that we had seen, right? And I know his career ended early because of injuries and he retired early and all that stuff. And I really wish that hadn't happened because maybe the Colts would have a Super Bowl or two under their belt and we can talk to them a little bit more. But yeah, I do hear you on the Shedeur Sanders. I think he's already better than Tim Tebow. His star is already brighter than Tim Tebow just by nature of his dad being Dion, right? This is a guy who was 12 years old on reality TV, rubbing his hands together, talking to women who were 10, 15 years older than him. So like his star is already bigger. But I do hear you on the Tim Tebow point for sure. It's just so unfortunate. Like, I love Joey Flax, but he shouldn't be the starter. I don't think he cares. I think Joe Flacco is just happy to still be in the league.
Yeah, just cut me the check, dog. He don't care.
I just think I think the unfortunate part is whether it's Shedeur Sanders or whether it's Dylan Gabriel, somebody's career is going to be derailed completely because of the Cleveland Browns' inability to make good decisions. That's the worst part about all this.
All right, let's get to the main event, unveiling my QB tiers. Okay. So I'm just going to go, like, I think we know who. I'm going to start at the bottom half. Like, we know who that is, right? We'll go the Saints, the Browns, because we don't know who that quarterback is. Like, give me a number that you think it starts to get interesting, and I'll tell you.
Like, where it starts to get
interesting. Matter of fact, okay, my bottom tier. I got about 5 tiers, right? At the bottom, it's the whatever the Browns are. I'm not saying this in skills. It's just the Browns. They have 5 quarterbacks now because they just signed Snoop Huntley. So like the Browns have to be at the very bottom because they don't even know what they're doing, right? So it's like the Browns and the Saints and the Colts to me are in that bottom tier. Whatever those quarterbacks are, to me, that's where that's at. Okay. Yes. Then you have the 4th tier where it's like, okay, I call McCarthy, which I like him. Okay. It's just he hasn't played. He had that one pass, but I liked him in college. I was one of the very few JJ McCarthy supporters. But in all fairness, we have no idea what he's going to be. So it's only going to be he said, don't ever compare that dude to Tebow. Hey, shout out to Tebow, man. Hey, won a playoff game. Shout out to man, I'm gonna butcher him because I know he just passed away. Who's the receiver that caught that? Demaryius Thomas. Yes, there we go. Okay, so in my 4th tier, which is basically wait and see. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying I can't put them any higher than this. The JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams. That's tier.
You have both of Atlanta's quarterbacks on the same tier?
Yeah, because I don't know who's starting.
Okay.
So like just like I have all the Browns quarterbacks in one tier and all the Colts in one tier, we would agree Kirk Cousins and Penix are probably better than Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, so that's my line of thinking there. Okay. Right above them, now tier 3 is where a bulk of the players are at. Okay. In tier 3, I have Caleb. I had Caleb in tier 4 because I don't like him. Drake May, Sam Darnold, Bo Nix, Geno, Trevor Lawrence, Tua, Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray, Brock Purdy. And Dak Prescott. That's tier 3. Okay.
How many quarterbacks are left? Just
11.
You don't think Dak Prescott's one of the 11 best quarterbacks in the
NFL? I think he has the potential to be, but because of his injuries, I don't know where he's at.
Fair. That's fair. Okay.
I think Dak Prescott has the ability, because if we want to get into brass tacks, he has the ability to be a top 5 quarterback. We've seen him do that.
Okay, I got you. He was hurt last season. He didn't play well.
He didn't play. So yep. I can't put him any higher because, and it's really not anything against him. It's just the guys who are now going to be listed above him in tier 2 and 1 are just they've just moved past him. And that starts with my number 11, Baker Mayfield. Then CJ Stroud at 10.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts at 9. Jared Goff at 8. Justin Herbert, Jaden Daniels. That's tier 2. Tier 1, Matt Stafford,
For a
Lamar
guy,
Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes.
for a guy who's obsessed with 3-year sample sizes,
Mm-hmm.
what's the justification for having Jaden Daniels the 5th best quarterback in the NFL when you're the guy who's obsessed with
6th? He's 6th. He's the top of tier 2. Him, Herbert, and Goff are at the top of tier 2.
Okay.
My obsession is the greatest rookie quarterback campaign we have ever seen. Special people get.
Wait a second. You have Justin Herbert over Jalen Hurts, and you think Justin Herbert is a social media quarterback?
I never said he thinks he's.
When we've talked about about how Acho said that Justin Herbert was a social media quarterback, and you agreed. This is a guy, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know if we should be listening to Acho these days.
We shouldn't. To the 95 of you who are watching, I just want to let you guys know that this is a guy in Jerm Edwards who is obsessed with 3-year sample sizes and results.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Except when it doesn't fit his agenda. Because this is the same guy in Jerm Edwards who is obsessed with bringing up the fact that Justin Herbert hasn't done anything to be worth all of the hype that he gets. Yet you have him ahead of a guy who's played in 2 Super Bowls and won one of them, is an all-pro, has
Justin
won
Herbert
more games than just about everybody except for one guy since he's been the starter and was a runner-up for the MVP.
Here's the problem. And this is where you guys get it twisted because you have to make up your minds. Tony, yes, Baker over Dak. Baker almost over
Tony for sure. Right now, yes, Baker over Dak. Absolutely.
Herbert and Jalen Hurts have played roughly the same amount of games. Herbert has like almost 15,000 more passing yards. Like, and the things.
Well, they're also different types of quarterbacks.
I understand, and that's the and here's the crux of my Jalen Hurts argument.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts, and it's funny because when all this started, did I say Jalen Hurts was garbage? Did you ever hear me say that? I said winning the Super Bowl doesn't change how people should look at Jalen Hurts. He has always been a fringe top 10 or top 5, however you want to say it. I said you could argue him anywhere from 8 to 12. ESPN had him at 9. I gave him more credit than that. The NFL 100 just came out. He is the 7th. What did I say? I said he is the 6th best player on his team. Y'all laughed at me. The NFL 100 that dropped last week, he is technically the 7th best Eagle on his own team. Outside of the top 50.
He's actually not, though. And you know that he's not, right? So you know that he's not.
Tony, Baker is over Dak because Baker had to overcome injuries to his 2 top 1 wide receivers, and he's won games. He's single-handedly won games for.
Not even that. Baker's over Dak because Dak played in 8 games last season and had 8 picks. He didn't play well. After coming off of an MVP runner-up season, Dak Prescott did not play well last season, and he didn't finish the season. You have to put Baker over Dak right now. If you're just talking about just like who they are at their best right now, yeah, Dak's better. But Dak didn't play well last season. You have to say that Baker's better. He's put together 3 really good years of football, the best 3 years of football of his career.
And I preempted my tiers with Dak Prescott could easily be top 5. He could take Matt Stafford's spot. It's just I have to see him play well because the last time we saw him, and he's coming off of, and it's not like he's coming off of a bullshit injury. He's coming off of a pretty major injury. Yeah. So like in the quarterback needs your hamstring. Sorry.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert, the wins thing is the thing that bothers me because we can't. Like the winning has nothing to do with him. Just like Joe Burrow last year, you're not going to look at how the Bengals performed and say, "Yeah, that was Joe Burrow." Yes, Justin Herbert had a terrible playoff game. Terrible playoff games happen. I got you. I got you. I hear you, and it's bad. And I'm not absolving him. I'm just saying you can't look at his entire body of work and say, "Yeah, that guy's garbage." Like that guy doesn't deserve.
It's obviously garbage. I do think he's a top 10 quarterback. I'm not saying he's not. That's not my disagreement. My disagreement with Justin Herbert, and again, Justin Herbert is the reason why I fell in love with college football. Marcus Mariota is the reason I'm an Oregon fan. He's the reason, but Justin Herbert, for me, when you start your career the way that you did, because before Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert had the greatest rookie quarterback season we'd ever seen. Yeah. He set the record for passing touchdowns and passing yards. First of all, He didn't find out he was going to start in week 1 until like 15 minutes before the game because Tyrod Taylor had a punctured lung. And he goes out there, and I believe he won that football game. And then a couple weeks later, he goes head-to-head with the GOAT, outplays the GOAT, and I believe they won that game against Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay. When you start your career that way, right? And then a couple of years ago, you go on the road in Vegas in the big game in week 18 when if the game ended in a tie, they both would have made it to the playoffs, right? And you are perfect on 3rd and 4th downs, and then in 2 playoff appearances, you turn the ball over multiple times and you don't play well. I can't say that you're better than a guy who I've seen not only play in 2 Super Bowls and win one, not only outplay Pat Mahomes in both of those outings, but this is also a guy who before A.J. Brown, before Devontae Smith, before all the winning, this is a guy who was playing football, throwing the ball to J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Jalen Reagor, and a bunch of other McDonald's-worthy wide receivers, and was still winning football games with them and took that team to the postseason. Like, that happened. So I'm not going to sit here. I'm not trying to sit here and say that the Jalen Hurts like hype or the reason why I think Jalen Hurts is third overall is just because of the wins. Because it's not just the wins, right? Because I get it. The Eagles are one of the best built rosters in the NFL and one of the best built rosters we've seen in a long time, right? But we don't say that. But what we don't do is we don't say that Joe Montana is not the second best quarterback of all time because he was throwing the ball to Jerry Rice. We don't do that. We don't say that Tom Brady's not the GOAT because he was playing with all-time great receivers and all-time great players and had the greatest coach of all time. We don't do that. We don't take down Troy Aikman. We don't take down all these other legendary or great quarterbacks in their time because they were playing with other great players. Howie Roseman has a job to do. In order for Howie Roseman to keep his job and feed his family, he has to make moves. He has to pay people. He has to draft well. I'm not going to discount Jalen Hurts and what he's able to do because Howie Roseman's good at his job.
But we're not discounting, and that's the thing. And I shout out to my Fox Sports guys out in Philly. I had to explain this to them. Jalen Hurts almost won MVP a few years ago with Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown and still an elite defense, still an elite offensive line.
He should have won MVP that year, by the way.
And he should have, but you know how the MVP shit goes. But
Patrick Mahomes winning that MVP was crazy.
And Jalen Hurts had a good season. That's fine.
Yeah.
But Josh Allen won MVP with Khalil Shakir and Mac Hollins. There's levels to this.
I think Josh Allen is better than Jalen.
And so but there's people, and this is what I'm saying. I'm not discounting. This is a battle of the Eagles fans and certain people wanting to overrate Jalen Hurts or overcredit him. When I said basically what all the professionals and all the scouts and all the owners and the coaches and all the people have already laid out whose job it is to analyze these things. And I said that just off watching. I said, yeah, no, Jalen Hurts he's a tier 2 B+ game managing quarterback. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what Brock Purdy gets praised for. Like, and I'm not saying Purdy's better than Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts is better than Brock Purdy, but I'm also not going to give him, because he won the Super Bowl, I'm not giving him credit for being an elite quarterback. He had to hold the steering wheel all season. He had one 300-yard passing game, and everybody's saying, "Oh, that's all he had to do." Exactly. That means I'm not going to give him credit for leading the team. Josh Allen was responsible for 80% of the Bills' offense. By far the most percentage.
Not Jalen Hurts. Would Josh Allen be responsible for 80% of Philly's offense if he was in Philly? No, he wouldn't be.
Well, no, because Philly wouldn't
have to run. He wouldn't have to run. The offense would run through the quarterback,
but the offense would run through the quarterback as they should. The reason why Philly had to play the way they played is because of, and I'm going to say the word weaknesses, but I'm not saying he's weak. I'm just saying I got you. And I've preached that. It is Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni's job to look at the strengths and weaknesses of their quarterback and build the team around them so they can win. I am giving credit to the Eagles for winning. I'm not giving credit for Jalen Hurts, who there's 45 MVP voters who cast 5 votes each. I don't care what happened in 2022, because as I've pointed out before on this show, Cam Newton had an amazing year of 15-1 in a Super Bowl appearance. and a unanimous MVP, and then 10 years of 7 and 9. Jalen Hurts got the credit for the year he was excellent. That doesn't, 1 year doesn't a career make. He held the steering wheel all season. Whatever metric you want to hold that to, he had one 300-yard game. He has yet to throw a 4,000-yard season. That is not elite quarterback. That's also not saying he's not a winner. He wins, but winning is not, they're not winning because of him. He's the 7th ranked player on his own team. He has a stacked roster. So in order to make the argument that people right now want to make for Jalen Hurts to put him with Josh Allen, Lamar, these other guys, I need to see him do it with less. No Eagles fan can realistically, in an objective moment, tell me they think Jalen Hurts is capable of dragging what Josh Allen had to drag to an AFC title game. There's not, man, hell no.
I think he could.
Then what did he do last year with the Eagles when they needed Jalen Hurts to be the guy? Did they make the playoffs?
They did make the playoffs, yeah.
Okay, what was the year they didn't make the playoffs? They were hindered by injury. It was like the year after the Super Bowl, right? Or
no,
that?
they made the playoffs
Oh,
every
they
year.
made the playoffs. Okay.
They didn't make the playoffs his first year because the season's already done. They just threw him out there. Here's what I will say to your 4,000 yards point, right? Yeah. Lamar Jackson threw for over 4,000 yards for the first time this season as well, right? So Jalen Hurts hasn't thrown 4,000 yards. The most yards that Jalen Hurts has thrown for in his career was 38.58. It was in 2023, the year that the team collapsed after the fact. That is still higher than Lamar Jackson's career high of 36.78, which was also happened to be in 2023, right? Mm-hmm. So if the bar is 4,000 yard passing, I don't want to hear that because Lamar Jackson, people still think is one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL. And he is. Lamar Jackson is one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL. But the difference is, and I know that you can agree with me here, right? Because you've said it all the time about Josh Allen, right? The difference and the reason why people give Jalen Hurts the credit that he deserves, and the reason why you look at a guy and why I can confidently say I 100% believe that a guy like Jalen Hurts could go into Buffalo and take that team to an AFC Championship game is because Jalen Hurts is a winner. Jalen Hurts does what it takes to win, right? If that means that he needs to go out here and throw for 3,600 yards a season, get at least 25 touchdowns, keep the turnovers to a minimum, right? And rush for near 1,000, he'll do that. If it means he needs to be Josh Allen and be responsible for 80% of the team's yards, I think he can do that, right? The difference between Jalen Hurts and a guy like Justin Herbert and a guy like Lamar Jackson and a guy even at times before this recent stretch like Josh Allen is how many times can you look at a time when the Eagles lost and you say, Jalen Hurts is the reason why they lost. I don't think there's a single loss that the Eagles have had since Jalen Hurts has been the quarterback where you look at that game and you say they lost because of Jalen Hurts. I can't say the same for Josh Allen.
But that's not a fair assessment.
I can't say the same for Justin Herbert. I can't.
I know you know why you can't, because those teams rely on them to win games. Let me ask you something.
But that's my point. Game plan, if they're relying on you to win, I've watched Josh Allen throw games away. I came on your show. I came on your show, not last season, the season before last, when y'all opened up against the Jets on 9/11, I think it was, and he donated $250,000 to Jordan Whitehead with 3 picks. Right? They lost that game because of Josh Allen. That doesn't mean Josh Allen's not great, but they like Jalen. The Eagles aren't losing games because of Jalen Hurts. That just doesn't happen.
The team is stacked, and that's why you can't put him. Dog, I could realistically put him in tier 3 if I really wanted to, because we haven't seen him. He plays with a stacked roster.
How can you say we haven't seen it when in 2021
they
he was throwing to nobody? They
had an elite defense and still an elite offensive line. They still had those things. The reason why they didn't win the Super Bowl in 2022 is because they didn't have Saquon, because they needed Jalen to win the game, and he couldn't do it. Listen.
Well, they didn't win the game in 2022 because of a bad snap that turned into a fumble. That's why they didn't win the game.
Listen, it's tough. Without the things, the quarterbacks you're saying that you're criticizing for losing games, Jalen doesn't have to have that luxury because the team around him is so well put together that Josh Allen doesn't. Again, Josh Allen won the MVP with Mac Hollins as his best receiver. Enough.
Jalen Hurts would win MVP if Matt Collins was his best receiver.
That is categorically untrue.
That would happen. That would absolutely happen. Okay, so aside from Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, I'm not going to get into
1 and 2. Yeah, Josh.
Because
I'm going to give Patrick the respect he deserves. What I will say is, I'm putting Patrick Mahomes at the top because I think he's earned it. Josh, I could easily make an argument for Josh because I think Josh Allen, out of every quarterback in the NFL, Josh can do what every other quarterback can do in the NFL, and not everybody can do what Josh can do.
Josh Allen, I would
He's the
say
most complete weapon in the NFL. And so
Yeah.
I could make the argument as the best because he can do everything more than anybody else.
I would agree. I would say that this is the closest that 1 and 2 have been since
Right.
Patrick Mahomes has been in the league. I don't disagree with that. I'm not getting into Lamar Jackson tonight because you'll never convince me that Lamar Jackson's better than Jalen Hurts because he can't win playoff games. I think the Joe Burrow point, despite me being a Joe Burrow guy, I do think the Joe Burrow point is an interesting one, but I don't really think you have to go into that. So you have Jaden. So let's go Jaden Daniels.
Okay.
You don't think if Jalen Hurts was in Washington that they would have had the same season that they had last season?
No, because the height of Jaden Daniels has been higher individually than anything I've seen from Jalen in terms of just playing, right? Like he's accumulated. I can't give him anything on time. It's just, again, it's the greatest rookie season we've ever seen. Like he's reached the conference championship.
So you don't think the Commanders are an NFC championship team with Jalen Hurts last season?
No, the Washington had the 25th ranked defense last year. Like no, literally everything was on like Jaden Daniels. Outside of Josh Allen, I don't think any other quarterback had more responsibility to elevate his team more than Jaden Daniels did, and he reached a title. And in terms
does Jalen Hurts play in the Super Bowl if he's the quarterback of the Ravens?
Is Jalen Hurts
and the Ravens in the Super Bowl? If Jalen Hurts are the Ravens playing in the Super Bowl if Jalen Hurts is under center?
I'm going to say no because I'm basing everything off my Bills fandom. If the Bills and if I think Lamar is better than Jalen and the Bills have beaten him, I'm not going to say with a lesser quarterback that they're going to beat the Bills, so they couldn't.
I can't get mad at that lineup. That's a very linear lineup thing. I can't. I'll let your bias win there.
Throwing the football, when you watch Jaden Daniels throw the football, I think you can at least agree. Jaden Daniels throws the ball better than Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts' arm isn't particularly strong. Jaden Daniels is stronger, clearly.
Jalen Hurts' arm isn't particularly. Jalen Hurts threw a 50-plus yard bomb to put the icing on the cake in the Super Bowl. What are you talking about?
Yes, the Ravens are playing in the Super Bowl. Not with no Jalen Hurts. Not with the 9th best quarterback in the NFL. I'll tell you that.
Well, here's why I disagree, right? And this is the thing that I've been getting on. This is the thing that I've been getting into with Ravens fans for the better part of really ever, right? So what Ravens fans like to harp on from last season is the fact that Mark Andrews dropped that pass at the end there that lost the game, right? But they don't talk about the fact that there were several instances where the Ravens got stops on in fact, I don't think the Bills scored in the second half. I'm sure you can correct me wrong there, but if I remember, I have studied that game log front to back because I've gotten into arguments about it a lot over the past couple months. If I'm not mistaken, I don't believe the Bills scored in the second half of that game, which means the Ravens did their job on defense. Yeah. They stopped the Bills from scoring, and Lamar Jackson, the Ravens couldn't, right? There were a couple of possessions in there in the first half where Lamar throws the pick, he airmails it. There's another one in there where he fumbles the ball, right? But there were even a couple of possessions in the first half where the Ravens defense gets a stop, and then the Ravens offense and Lamar Jackson, they turn around and either punt the ball or they don't score, right? So, so when I say that Jalen Hurts is better than Lamar Jackson, what I mean by that is in those situations, when Jalen Hurts is in a situation where he needs to, first of all, Jalen Hurts doesn't turn the football over. Let's just start there. But if he does turn the football over, he's not making the same mistake multiple times, right? He's not a guy that's going to make multiple mistakes in the same game. That doesn't happen. So why I can confidently say that the Ravens would be in the Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts, or at least have a better shot at it, is because he takes care of the football. Yeah. Lamar. So I'm not giving Lamar Jackson played great in the second half. Yes, but Lamar Jackson's great second half doesn't become such a talking point if his first half wasn't so bad. And that's my thing with Lamar, is if he just plays great the way that we know that he can play consistently, a lot of us people who are out here saying that Lamar Jackson isn't this or isn't that, we have no leg to stand on because he's consistently being great. That's why people are out here saying that he's the James Harden of the NFL. That's why people are here saying the things that they're saying about him is because when the lights are brightest, he's like the Rockets in 2018. He's bricking 27 threes in a row. And there's nothing that anybody can do about it. He might have a little bit of magic at the end there to make it interesting, but he's still making those mistakes. I look at even the Matt Stafford thing. I think is an interesting one because I think for the most part, a lot of people who think Matt Stafford is top 5 are giving Matt Stafford credit for the Super Bowl that he won, on top of the fact that we all knew that he was super duper talented, but he was in Detroit and Detroit wasn't winning anything, right? And so if that's the argument for Matt Stafford, what I want to figure out is
why Matt Stafford can consistently be in the top 6, top 5, top 7, whatever, off the strength of a Super Bowl that he won 3 years ago, which can't be considered a top 5, top 4, top 3 even quarterback based on a Super Bowl he won 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to know. I'm not saying you have to answer that, but I'm just saying everyone that I talk to who talks to me and says Jalen Hurts can't be that high because of the Super Bowl he won 6 months ago have Matt Stafford that high because of the Super Bowl he won 3.5 years ago.
No, I think the Super Bowl validates everything we've thought of Matt Stafford. I mean, Matt Stafford, in terms of like gold age quarterback, is the last of them, right? Joe Burrow is probably the closest thing to that traditional golden age quarterback that we remember. But at 37, I still watch Matt Stafford and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. No, Matt Stafford's really good.
Like, just his ability as a playmaker, like making these Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua household names, that's a credit to Matt Stafford. Like, that's, again, teams are game planning to stop Matt Stafford, and that's also another reason why I still have Jalen.
People game plan to stop Jalen Hurts, Jerm. Like, come on, bro.
No, their plan is for a quarterback. Hey, let's keep him in the pocket and make him throw. That's not a great game. Like, if you're supposed to be an elite quarterback, that's not what you want. That's not what the game plan should be. Like, that's not how
Jalen Hurts has beaten your favorite team throwing the football.
Who?
Yours.
The Bills?
He's beaten your favorite team throwing the football. That has happened.
He's beaten
your favorite
Bills.
team throwing the football.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, teams
so it's not like
games.
he's not capable of doing. That's why I'm so confused on this whole like make him throw the football.
So what does that mean though? Jalen Hurts is 0-2 versus Zach Wilson. So Zach Wilson's better than Jalen Hurts now. Is that what we're doing? Are we doing that? Because it sounds like what you're loading up.
Well, you just said that the game plan for Jalen Hurts is to make him throw, and so I'm just pointing out. I think that's ironic when he's beating your favorite team.
I got you. Was that not Washington in the NFC title game and Kansas City in the Super Bowl? That was their game plan. Hey, we will sell on Jalen Hurts and make him beat us. That's not what elite quarterbacks do. That's not.
But I hear you. But I don't think that making Jalen Hurts throw is a sign of like forcing him to beat us throwing. I think it's an acknowledgement that the Eagles offense is most just like the Ravens offense, just like even the Bills offense, right? When you have a dual threat quarterback, your offense is most dangerous when your quarterback is able to extend plays, run, and maneuver. So your goal defensively is let's not let this guy rack up 100, 125, 150 yard rushing, because now it makes us being able to defend option plays that much harder. Oh, and by the way, he's handing the ball off to the best back in football, Saquon Barkley, right? Yeah. So when I hear you, but like I don't see the let's make Jalen Hurts throw, because they were saying the same thing about Lamar Jackson. The difference is Lamar Jackson wasn't that great of a passer, right? And the game plan even now still on Lamar Jackson is let's do what we can to contain him, because we don't have a shot if Lamar Jackson's off for 100 and Derrick Henry's going off for 100. Right. Or before Derrick Henry arrived, when I don't know why people forget that Mark Ingram was a 1,000-yard rusher the year that he won MVP. I don't understand why, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think so. Like, I hear you on that point, but I don't think that's a product of people saying, oh, Jalen Hurts isn't a good thrower. I think that's a product of people recognizing our best shot at beating the Eagles is if we only have to worry about Saquon running the ball and we only have to worry about Jalen Hurts throwing the ball. Because if we have to worry about Saquon as a runner and a receiver, and we have to worry about Jalen Hurts as a passer and a runner, we might as well just go home. Like, there's no shot. And you could say the same thing for Josh Allen, even though his supporting cast isn't that great. Like, you want to do what you can to keep Josh Allen in the pocket and not scrambling, because he's a big body. So first of all, he's running somebody over. Someone might end up in the blue tent if they go head up against Josh Allen. But more importantly, you want to put yourself in a situation where your secondary can hold its own against Mac Hollins and Khalil Shakir and all those guys. I just think, I don't know. Like, I hear you, but I've never really, like, that's a good argument for like a Zach Wilson who's just not good. Like, yeah, like let's make him throw the football. But like a Jalen Hurts, like dual threat guys, I don't know if that argument holds the same weight. It might work for Kyler Murray too, because Kyler Murray just absolutely sucks.
Yeah, for real.
Did you see that pick he threw against the Chiefs?
Yeah,
you know, I don't know what he was looking at. Man. He needs to stay out the COD lobbies. But yeah, that's where I'm at on that.
Do you have a game ball you want to give out? That was fun.
do. Asia Wilson the other day, 32-20. The first time in league history we had a 30-20 game. So
best player in the
and
league.
her birthday was the other day. 29 years old. Shout out Asia Wilson.
Shout out to Asia Wilson, best player in the league, man. She's a monster, man. It's aces on the way. My game ball's going. I said it earlier. Pete Alonso. They did secure that victory against the Atlanta Braves. So not only breaking, turn that head around, dog. Turn it around. Not only breaking Darryl Strawberry, the Mets all-time home run record, he did it at home against our arch rivals, and the Mets secured a win, a much-needed win, because we were in a full-on mudslide, not a slump, straight-up mudslide. So thank God they stopped the bleeding. Hopefully this kind of kickstarts something to turn somewhat of a turnaround as we etch towards the end of the season. Yeah, man, this was fun. Please follow my guy, Dwayne Marcus, at marcus.talks.sports, or just search Marcus Talk Sports in Google and you'll find him everywhere we're at. Check us out, www.giveusashot.network. Thank you to everybody, David Burns and Tony Jones and TW, all you guys in the comments, Eddie, all y'all. Shout out to y'all. Follow us at Stuff About Sports. Please like and subscribe to the channel. And whatever you do, if you're starting up a business in Hawaii, stay far away from Shohei Ohtani, because he's going to get you his translator to take all your money.